of focusing on Oklahoma losing its first game of the season, losing its first ever game in the SEC. But that was Missouri's first SEC win, and the Tigers are going to need a few. Their mindset, as it has to be when you're a team probably headed toward the bottom half of the SEC, is making sure you are at least 500 and therefore eligible for an NCAA regional, because we know that the selection committee is going to respect the SEC. They have consistently. They have no choice but to respect it even more now with Texas and Oklahoma in the league. But if you're under 500, their hands are tied.
Well, not just respecting the SEC. Missouri is playing the fourth hardest schedule in the country right now. So, and that's not going to change with them playing the rest of the SEC ball. So regardless of how hard your schedule is, you still have to be 500. And something Coach Anderson talked to us about earlier in the week and, you know, before even their tournament a couple weekends ago, is that they have to be at 500 and they really need to kind of buckle down and focus, refocus, and gain some confidence. And that's exactly what yesterday did, knowing that now that you can beat Oklahoma, you can play with any team in the nation.
Two balls, no strikes on Gabby Garcia, the Sooners' cleanup hitter. She's batting at .405 this year, 10 home runs, 27 RBIs. She'll be followed by Ella Parker at Sydney Sanders in the OU second. Garcia pulls it to Smith. One retired. For Missouri fans, it's shades of that 2018 year under interim head coach Gina Fogue, when the story was really the same for Missouri. Everybody thought the resume was strong enough to get in. The question was, would they be eligible at 500 or better? They did just squeak in. Here's Ella Parker. .453 hitter this year, 5 homers, 26 batted in. You know, Larissa Anderson's been honest about it too, that maybe if she had it to do over again, she would have tried to schedule something a little bit easier in the non-conference. The upside is that there were some really good wins mixed in there. Beat Duke, beat Northwestern.
They saw a lot of success early in the season against those top, ranked opponents. Kind of faltered a little bit. They're not young on paper, but that pitching staff lost their ace and their, innings getter who would go out there, and Lauren Kring. So a little bit different mindset that the pitchers had to come in with. And when we talked to Coach Anderson, they got swept by Kentucky, and she's mentioned we had enough hits, we had enough runs to win the games, and we didn't do it defensively. Our pitchers need to step up, and kudos to them. They came strong this weekend against Oklahoma.
Over the first 4 weekends, Missouri played 21 games in non-conference. Only 4 of them were against teams outside the Power Four. So they've essentially played conference games, not SEC games, but they've essentially played conference games the whole year. Smith on the attack, nice underhand flip, and then she bit the dirt for her troubles. It's a little bit wet today too, so she's gonna wear that one up and down the gold uniform for the rest of the afternoon.
That's what you need. You want the uniform to be dirty, right? You don't want it to be clean.
So I think it was Chipper Jones used to say, I never felt like I was in the game until my uniform had some dirt on it. I think he changed that stance in his 30s. That was, he said that in his 20s. I don't know that he felt that way at 36, 37 years old. But Sophie Smith is a freshman, so she'll get dirty. Ball one on Sydney Sanders. .344 this year. 6 home runs, 19 RBIs. That need to get to 500 made Missouri getting swept in Lexington a couple of weekends ago to open SEC play against Kentucky all the more painful, especially because they lost those games by 2, by 1, and by 3. All were winnable games. And frankly, all were games where if they'd gotten half the pitching performance they got yesterday, they would have won easily.
And I know that Oklahoma run-ruled Mizzou on Friday night. It was a quiet run rule, which I don't think you normally would say, but it was those 3 home runs they had. You know, what led to that is if you have walks, if you have some errors that are going to get runners on, and then you're going to have that home run. That's a big difference. You saw the 1 home run yesterday from Oklahoma, but just a single-run home run, and that's going to keep you in a ball game.
Yeah, I think in some ways it shows you how fine the margins are if you are a home run-centric offense, because Oklahoma run-ruled in 5 innings on Friday in a game that didn't feel that lopsided, and then lost 3-1 in a game where it didn't feel their offense was terrible. They had similar traffic in both games on the base paths. They just didn't get the big hits yesterday. Full count on Sanders. We're 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. You're talking about if they'd had 2 hits and they're both home runs like they were on Friday with runners in scoring position, they might have won the game 5-6-3.
Yeah, and you could tell Larissa Anderson yesterday taking each base runner and really being strategic about when she was using pinch runners, and each run would have mattered, really trying to get insurance runs for her pitchers.
Up and in, ball 4. Oklahoma has its first base runner on a 2-out walk to Sanders, one that will frustrate McCann because she was in the driver's seat there.
Number 50, second baseman, Ilana Agbayani.
Brings up Ilana Agbayani, who's been very good in this series. For the year, she's hitting .355 with a homer and 22 RBIs. She is 3 out of 5 with a walk and a double across the first 2 games of the weekend. Off the corner, ball 1. And it's the first at bat with runner on base for Oklahoma in this game. That was the issue yesterday, no question. They had 1 hit with runners on, none with runners in scoring position. That said, if we're going to talk about how disappointing it is for Missouri to have been swept by Kentucky, especially in the context of needing to be 500, again, to be totally honest, you'd have to view yesterday as a bonus win that Mizzou could not have counted on. If they would have expected to win at least 1 or more in Kentucky, they wouldn't have been counting on anything out of this series. Agbayani down the left side and foul. Not that they didn't think they could win, but you'd be crazy to come into a series with 28-0 Oklahoma thinking, oh, we'll get at least 1.
That's not something you're automatically going to put in your win column of, oh, I know we can get 1, I know we can get 2 of these. I think that's why Coach Anderson was so frustrated with the Kentucky losses, is that they were such winnable games, and they really needed that with Kentucky not being ranked.
Does say a lot about the depth of the SEC that one of only a couple of unranked teams in the league is the first one to hand Oklahoma a loss. Topper foul on the first base side, still 2-2. Two-out walk to Sanders. She's at first. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Agbayani. Patty Gasso's young Sooners suffered their first loss of the season yesterday afternoon, 3-1 at the hands of these Missouri Tigers. They have not lost back-to-back games since the last time they lost a series, which was their final weekend set in the Big 12 when they fell 2-1 to Oklahoma State in Norman. What, if anything, do you think is the message to her club trying to bounce back today?
She's really got to keep them calm. You mentioned they're young. They're very young on paper. They've had some games where they've had to come back from, where they've been playing from behind. But, again, their first loss of the season, this young Oklahoma offense and, middle infield, they haven't really had that adversity to have to bounce back from that.
The other thing is even the kids like a Sam Landry, like some of their other upperclassmen transfers, not that Landry participated in the loss yesterday in any way. It's one thing to say, I lost a game when I was at Louisiana. I lost a game at Utah. I lost a game at BYU. I lost a game at North Carolina. It's another thing to lose a game at Oklahoma because of the microscope that this program is under locally in terms of the fan base that they have, the local media attention they get, and nationally, because if there's one team that a casual softball fan or even just a casual college sports fan who doesn't really care about softball knows, it's the Oklahoma Sooners. When they lose a game, just one in the regular season, it's plastered all over the internet. Missouri's lost 14 games, and people did not read about it on Instagram.
You're absolutely right. And four-time national champ, everyone, they have a target on their back from every single team that they play. Everyone wants to beat them. They are everyone's Super Bowl, and that's got to be, it's tough for pitchers. It's tough for a young.
She's got to really buckle down on 3-2. It was Madison Updegrove who did it earlier in the weekend. Landry's payoff. Abbrascato waves and misses, and from 3-0 down, Landry comes back for a third strikeout early on today. Strike to Madison Updegrove. Hitting .246, 2 homers, 9 batted in on her freshman campaign. She is hitless in 4 trips in this series. Does have a walk on the weekend. One and two. Didn't miss by much. Patty Gesso had a word or two from the first base dugout for Dave Reinecker. I think you're wondering if the 3-0 pitch to Abbrascato was a strike. Where did that one miss? And it puts you in a tough spot as a plate umpire, because what's he supposed to do? Look in the dugout and go, Patty, that was the 3-0 strike zone.
That's right.
Okay, we both know it's a little different.
I'm going to open it up a little bit on 3-0.
Landry's 2-2 again. Wave and a miss by Updegrove. 4 strikeouts on Friday in 5 innings for Landry. 4 already in 2 2/3 today. Smith takes ball 1. Smith is 3 out of 18 so far in limited opportunities of her first year. Does not have an extra base hit. She's driven in 1. Driven to right field, well hit to the wall. It is off the base of the fence. The first career extra base hit for Sophie Smith, and she's in scoring position with 2 out.
Great at bat by Sophie Smith.
So now Addie Kohler, Sophie Smith's first collegiate extra base hit, and Missouri did not like that call. In her 8th career start, Addie Kohler is in just her 2nd collegiate start. Her first one was not even 24 hours ago. She is 3 out of 7 this year. Rolled up first and foul. She did have a base hit in her first at bat yesterday, which was her first career SEC hit. One for 3 in the series, 1 out of 4 in her SEC career. Had 1 at bat last year in the league in March against Tennessee and struck out. Looks much more comfortable at the plate this season. Wave and a miss by Kohler. Landry gets a 5th strikeout and in fact K's the side around a 2-out Sophie Smith double. We go to the 3rd, no score. No score as we move to the 3rd inning. Missouri has had a hit in each of the first 2 frames. An infield single from Kara Daly in the 1st, a double from Sophie Smith in the 2nd. Fortunately for Oklahoma, both have been with 2 outs in the inning, which has made Sam Landry's job a little bit easier. Not that she's needed the help. Landry has 5 strikeouts through 2 frames. Meanwhile, Oklahoma has just 1 base runner against Marissa McCann. It was a 2-out walk to Sydney Sanders in the 2nd inning. So 8, 9, and 1 are scheduled here against McCann. Isabella Emmerling, the catcher, is the first to hit. Sydney Barker and Abigail Dayton will follow for OU in the visitors' 3rd. Emmerling hitting .250 this year, 8 homers. She's driven in 24. Only has 1 other extra base hit. She has 1 double. So when she connects, it usually leaves the ballpark. In fact, nearly half of her hits are homers, 8 out of 17.
Coach Gasso mentioned she's got this big swing, so with the big swing is going to come big results, but also if it's not going to be that big result, you're going to see a lot of strikeouts, you're going to see a lot of high fly balls with the misses on the swings.
And she's only struck out once. She's 0 for 5 in the series, but only 1 has been a punch out. Sort of atypical for Emmerling. Generally, if she's putting the ball in play, she's going to get pretty good results. It's the putting the ball in play that sometimes is problematic. Awkward spinner to short, handled well by Updegrove, and again, she almost takes Madison Walker's mitt off at first. Walker looks up to say, did I catch it? Okay, is my glove and hand still attached?
Are they all there? You see her looking at the palm of her hand while she's coming in. Updegrove has a great arm over there at shortstop. That ball looks like a routine ground ball, but the spin coming off of that bat was really funky and weird. Updegrove does a great job staying down on it, and there's no doubt that she's going to get that ball over to first base in a hurry.
Sydney Barker now the number 9 hitter. Freshman batting .344. She has 4 homers, 22 batted in. Hasn't been an every game starter for the Sooners. It's her 15th start out of Oklahoma's 30 games. You know, the other thing on the Updegrove point is it's one thing to have a great arm. It's another thing as a freshman who's getting the opportunity again at shortstop in a series like this to not be afraid to rip it. And she has been ripping it.
She has not hesitated at all over there at shortstop, which sometimes as a shortstop, you just have that mentality. Even if you're a freshman, it doesn't really matter to you. You're still going to have that mentality. We've seen Updegrove play a little bit of second base, which sometimes I think that throw from her at second base is a little, it's so hard it kind of throws the first baseman off.
McCann's 1-1 delivery. Looked like a slightly hesitant swing from Sydney Barker, which is something Patty Yasso said to us during the game yesterday when we talked to her in the middle innings. She felt like their swings were hesitant. They were late as a result. They just weren't swinging with intent, which is unbelievable because you'd think they'd be brimming with confidence. The season they've had, the numbers they put up, all the wins.
That's a little bit of the youth showing, and even, you know, some of their upperclassmen are transfers, so it's a little, they're not necessarily the leaders that you would expect them to be because they haven't been with the program as long. So a little bit of that youth showing yesterday when they weren't as successful in the, you know, early innings, kind of waving at some pitches that we didn't see on Friday night.
It's a good point about probably wanting to be in a program for a little while before you feel comfortable leading. Nellie McEnroe-Marinas wears the C this year, just a redshirt freshman, had not played in a game for OU. In fact, you'd think, assuming somehow she doesn't get stripped of the captaincy at some point, which would be a shocker, if she plays her entire career at Oklahoma, she'll probably never play a game without the C. Barker pops it up, foul ground near the plate. Daly makes the call and the catch. Good assertive play by Kara Daly because that was going to be really tricky for Julia Krenshaw if she had to try to go for it.
And I think that's where you see that leadership come in from Daly. We've seen her playing a little bit of shortstop. She has been most comfortable at third base, really established herself as a great defensive third baseman. Great job coming in, calling off Krenshaw. That would be an incredibly hard play for a catcher to turn around and make that catch.
Top of the order, Abigail Dayton. She flied to center her first time. grade foul up the left side, 1-2. Patty Gasso has the heavy coat on today. This is more the Columbia, Missouri temperatures she remembers, although it's warming up as the sun comes out. But it was a feels-like temperature in the 30s this morning. Little off speed, and Dayton held up, 2-2.
Dayton has so many options as a hitter at the plate. We've seen her show bunt. She can slap. She got down in the count 1-2. Now you're seeing her stand still there as a hitter to be able to swing away.
Inside corner, strike 3 call. 1-2-3 inning for McCann. Tigers coming back up in a tie game. Wall by Sophie Smith in the second. 9-1-2 scheduled against her in the home third. Claire Cahalan will be first. Then Julia Krenshaw and Madison Walker. Off the outside of ball to Cahalan. 291 hitter. Has not homered. Driven in 4. In fact, she has neither a homer nor a double, but she does have 3 triples. Hard hit to second, but right at Garcia for the out. Should say at Agbayani, and there's one away. Slightly better results first time through the lineup for Missouri against Sam Landry than they had on Friday. The 5 strikeouts notwithstanding. Julia Krenshaw takes slow for a ball. Smith and Cahalan, the 7 and 9 hitters, made hard contact, but not a lot of contact, period. Krenshaw struck out her first time. Krenshaw, left field, and gone. For the second day in a row, Missouri strikes first on top-ranked Oklahoma.
What an at-bat by Krenshaw coming back.
Ninth home run of the season for Julia Krenshaw, second only to Madison Walker, who stands in now on the club. Walker just mishit that one. It carries to right, but not far enough. Barker in front of the track for the catch. That was not far from homers on back-to-back pitches. Just skewed off Walker's bat a little bit.
We've seen Madison Walker be really aggressive at the plate. It definitely paid off yesterday for her in her first at-bat. She is first, second pitch swinging when she's going up there, knowing that the pitchers are trying to get ahead of the hitters. Like Landry has done such a great job of getting ahead of hitters. So as a hitter, if you can go in with that mindset of this is what I'm looking for, I'm going first pitch.
And the wind is blowing out to right field again today, although not nearly as hard as it was on Friday evening. Cara Daly now. Had an infield single her first time, but Landry has her decidedly off balance on these first 2. Shows you how much can change, though, second time seeing even an elite arm like Landry, because it took a while Friday before she was having to mix it up at all. Her velocity was just blowing Missouri away. That is not the case today.
No, she was not. She did not have to rely on her changeup hardly at all on Friday night. We've seen her throw that pitch a lot in these first 3 innings.
Everybody clap your hands.
swing and a miss. Landry strikes out Daly to get out of the inning, but the damage is done. Julia Krenshaw gives Missouri a 1-0 lead.